According to Goldman Sachs, consumers are shouldering 55% of the cost of Trump's tariffs this year. 55% shouldered by the consumer. EJ Antoni joining us here. He's in New York today. You know, EJ, they're shouldering 55% of the cost of tariffs. That's according to Goldman Sachs. That sounds inflationary to me.
Well, it certainly does at first, but if we actually read the report, it's pointing to next year. And the other thing to remember is that these different predictions, not just from Goldman Sachs, but other banks, has consistently said that consumers are going to basically pay all of the tariffs, and they've so far consistently been wrong. We're seeing a lot of middlemen eat the tariffs. We're seeing a lot of foreign exporters eat the tariffs. And so at the end of the day, we're just not seeing these apocalyptic predictions come true. That's not to say there aren't going to be any cost increases, especially temporary ones as we reshore manufacturing. But again, we're just not seeing, Stu, the kind of apocalyptic levels of price increases that everyone said we were going to get.
Okay, we're not seeing the apocalyptic price increases because of tariffs, but we are seeing some increases. Let me ask a question. If consumer price inflation is, say, 3%, let's take 3%, are tariffs responsible for 1% of that, 1/3 of that, or a half of that? How much?
Well, I think most of the increases that we've seen in the CPI, for example, we can actually attribute to the bad monetary policy we had at the end of last year, where we cut 100 basis points and we all of a sudden started easing when there was no reason to. In fact, inflation was reaccelerating at the time. And so, again, I think much of the price increases you're seeing now are from the long and variable lags that we typically get from monetary policy.
Something from tariffs, surely. There's some part of inflation as the result of tariffs, isn't it?
Oh, sure. Stuart, again, you're going to get some temporary changes in prices. There's no doubt about that, because, again, you're essentially undoing what happened before, which was the exportation of not manufactured goods, but the manufacturing sector itself.
Do you see any end to the China trade war in the very near future? Any change at all? Or is this just going to drag on?
It's probably going to have to drag on for a while. The reason being is that China never abides by any of their trade agreements. And that is even true for the trade agreements that they signed with President Trump back during his first term. Every trade agreement they sign, they always end up stabbing their so-called trading partner in the back. And so that's why the president has to deal with them this way.
This market sell-off, as the result of the China trade war, that gives China leverage. They know that if they exert themselves, our market goes down, we get hurt. They have leverage.
But at the same time, if we're in a trade war with China, it's not just our market that's going down, right? It's going to be their market that's going down as well, and that's getting hit. And what we have to remember with China is the fact that their economy is already in rougher shape than ours is. So on top of the leverage you could argue we have from the fact that we're the debtor nation in terms of that trade relationship, on top of that, their economy has been not just sluggish, but actually in recession. We have a lot of indicators that point to the fact that China's economic growth has been negative.
New tariffs on lumber. That's not going to help the housing industry, is it?
Not from the standpoint of you're going to add on another cost, but certainly from the standpoint of if you couple that, because remember, this isn't happening in a vacuum. If you couple that with tax reform, with regulatory reform, that makes it easier to process the lumber we already have here in the United States, especially in the Pacific Northwest, or if you happen to be a person who has a tree farm, let's say, Stuart, then in cases like that, it's easier for you to harvest domestic lumber and bring that product to market at a lower cost. So again, at the end of the day, you have an adjustment period,
you
but
are
it's a wash.
determined to see the good side of tariffs, aren't you? You are determined.
Look, these things aren't happening in a vacuum, right? We got to come down, I think, from the academic ivory tower and say, what's the real world application, or I should say, what are the real world effects of this application?
We'll take it. EJ, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to New York. We'll see you soon. Thank you, man.